She's back. Hey guys, it's Mom of Two, Wife of One. I know it has been a minute since I have sat down and talked to you guys. And first, let me offer up my deepest apologies for being away for a while. It's just, life has been lifing. Nothing's wrong with me. Everybody's still happy and healthy. We're doing well. But life has just been life. There's just been a lot of stuff going on. But I've still been keeping up with Married at First Sight. I've been taking my notes and I'm ready. So this episode is going to be this episode of Mama to Wife 1 is going to be a mashup of episodes 15 and 16. Now, for those of you who are new to my channel, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I am Mama to Wife of 1, and I'm here to talk about Married at First Sight season 16, episodes 15 and 16. If you have been watching the show for a while, you're probably like, girl, when is this show going to end? Because at some point, normally around episode 9 or 10, it starts dragging on and we're just waiting for decision day. So from last night's episode, they're about 9 days away from decision day. Normally, we have anywhere from 16 to 18 episodes in a single season. I didn't see any indications that next week is going to be decision day. So it looks like we're going to go at least to 18 episodes. And then, of course, right after that, they're going to do Where Are They Now and all that good stuff. So we have at least 2 episodes left of the regular season. I typically don't do the Where Are They Nows because it gets really messy and I just don't really care about them after that point. But regardless, we're here. And so what I'm going to do, since I'm combining 2 episodes into 1 episode of Mama to Wife 1, recap and review, I'm going to go couple by couple. That sound cool? Thumbs up, everybody? Awesome. So first, we're going to start with Kirsten and Shaquille. Last week, they met with Devon Franklin, who came and talked to all the couples about just where they are now, any lingering issues. And actually, before I get to the couple, let me say this. Devon Franklin and Dr. Pia are both very good at what they do. Devon Franklin was dropping some gems to every couple that I was like, okay, all right. Like, you could tell that he is a preacher because he was just dropping them gems that made me want to be like, praise his name. Like, he was really in his bag, which is great. The problem is he and Dr. Pia are both very underutilized. You don't bring somebody like that who's dropping wonderful information and great guidance and advice to these couples. So have him on the show. But you don't bring him in the 11th hour because what good is that going to do now? All the advice that he's giving them, they don't have enough time to really implement all the stuff he's telling them to do. And so it's just a moot point right now. And it just makes no sense. If you're going to have someone like Devon Franklin, if you're going to have someone like Dr. Pia, bring them in a lot earlier than the last 2 weeks of the marriage. I feel like that doesn't make any sense. And that's not really taking full advantage of the wisdom and the guidance that they can provide that Dr. Pepper and Pastor Cal honestly can't. I think every expert out of all 4, they all have their own brand of wisdom, knowledge, and expertise, right? Which is good because you need to have different opinions. You need to have people with different concentrations. That's great. But that means that you need to have all of them working together at the same time. So have all 4 of them in the very beginning and the matchmaker special, figuring out who's going to pair well with who. And then throughout the season, and someone commented before, every episode have one of the experts either talking with all of the couples or maybe just talking with the couple who looks like they need the most work. It could be about the couple who maybe struggled that particular week because something big happened. It could be about the couple who's just struggling to get away from the honeymoon phase, whatever it is. But I think every episode we need to see at least one of the experts talking to somebody, even if it's not the entire couple. Maybe it's just the husband or just the wife. But I think that would help them, give them the tools they need every single week, I guess, on our end, to really make this marriage work. So I just wanted to pause and saying that. But Kirsten and Shaq met with Devon Franklin and the subject came up about support. Shaquille doesn't feel like he's very supported by Kirsten. It's very important to him. And Kirsten even FaceTimed his mom to get advice. And she was like, he was very upset that you didn't go on that work trip. And my son really needs support. So you really need to show up and support him. The issue that they ran into that they talked about with Devon Franklin is that support looks very different for the 2 of them, right? He, in his mind, whatever he envisions support, he doesn't think Kirsten is giving. And Kirsten's like, okay, but I called you constantly. I asked you if you did this. I made sure that you did this. I did this for you. Like, that's my way of showing support and showing up. And he was like, that's not enough. Don't dismiss or diminish the things that she is doing for you because she doesn't have to do those things. And that's her way of showing support. You can't say, oh, that's not enough, like it wasn't nothing. That's what she's doing for you. And the fact that she has to lay out what she's doing for you shows that you don't really care about you don't really appreciate what she has brought to the table thus far. And Devon Franklin told him that, like, basically you are dismissing what she's done as if it's nothing. So how do you think that makes her feel? That makes her feel rejected and like she can never measure up to what you want. if there's a certain way that you want her to show up and support you, then you have to be vocal and you have to use those words to say, hey, I appreciate that you did X, Y, and Z, but one thing that would really help is if you did A, B, and C. And that's it. Nobody is a mind reader. And I know a lot of times women are accused of expecting our men to be mind readers, but sometimes men do the same thing. They just expect like, oh, she should know that this is what I want. A, she's not a mind reader, and B, she's only known you for less than 2 months at this point. So you can't expect her to know those things just yet. So Devon kind of got them together, and that's what I put in my notes. There's more than one way to show support, and he needs to, again, be specific and show about what he wants from her. And there was also this really weird moment where all the couples are sitting at the table together, and Shaquille was talking about like the rough time he's having, and, you know, they were talking about how a lot of times men are not comfortable with being vulnerable and saying that they're struggling and saying they're going through stuff. And the conversation came around to how most if not all of the men have had a close male friend in their life who has taken their own life, or at least attempted to take their own life because they were depressed, but they didn't know how to put words to it. And Shaquille was like, I was one of those people. Like, I definitely contemplated it, but, you know, I got myself together, but it's hard sometimes, you know, speaking out and blah, blah, blah. And so Nicole, who is very vocal in the group, and we all know she's one of the more vocal women of the group, and one of the more vocal people, period, this season, and who's like the unofficial expert of all the couples, was like, well, you know, Shaquille, we got your back. You know, you have a beautiful wife there who I know is supportive of you and who's going to do whatever it takes to help you, and blah, 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 blah. So he got mad that in that moment, Kirsten wasn't the one that stood up and said, well, I'm supportive of you, husband. I'm here. He got mad that Nicole had to say something first. And Kirsten told him, like, look, I didn't even have a chance to react. Nicole immediately said something. But the whole time you were talking, I'm rubbing your leg and I'm rubbing your back, letting you know that I'm here beside you. And that's a prime example of this is how I'm showing you support. I am touching you. I'm being close to you. I'm letting you know, babe, I got you. I know what you're talking about is really difficult, but I'm here. I got you. And what Shaq wanted in that moment was for her basically to stand up and declare to the entire restaurant, this is my husband and I love him and I'll do everything I can to make sure he's good. That's what he wanted. And it's like, but maybe that's not her. And what she was doing was still letting you know that, hey, I got you. I'm here. She's like, I never want you to feel like you can't talk to me. I never want you to feel like I'm not there for you. That's very important to her to do that. So hopefully they'll kind of get past that. And he'll appreciate what she's doing. And again, just speak up if you want her to do more. Like, it doesn't seem like she'd be opposed to that. Just, girl, come on. And then they also announced to the other couples that they were finally intimate. And so everyone was really excited. And oh my gosh, this is great. This is wonderful. Whatever. And that's pretty much all that happened with Devon Franklin. So last night's episode, all the couples went on a retreat. This is normally like a last-ditch effort to have some fun and to talk about things that maybe we haven't talked about yet. Let's get all the other couples' opinion on this, and let's just go and have fun and get away. Because sometimes, whether you're going through this experiment or not, sometimes you really need that change of scenery to kind of get your mind right. Because let me tell you something. I love the home that my husband and I have created for our family. I love coming home every evening, waking up, you know, every day and looking at, you know, the home that we've made and the family we've made. It's all wonderful and beautiful. But life is already full of stressors. It's full of things that just make you sad sometimes. And home is home. Like, you always want to come back to home, but home is also where your stressors lie. It just is. So you need to have those breaks of vacation, going on a cruise, even just getting in the car and driving away for an hour. And if you just come right back. Meant to be vacation, but at least you got away for a little bit. You were able to kind of clear your mind. So I know that that's the reason of the retreat. And the retreats, for the most part, are normally fun. So that's what they did. All the couples did last night. Went to this beautiful home in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. And a lot of different things happened last night. But for Kirsten and Shaquille, they went tubing down a little ice slide, which looked like a lot of fun. And she did tell them that, you know, she feels like they're still having issues with communication. And one thing I am noticing that Kirsten, for whatever reason, hasn't noticed, whenever Kirsten is talking, let's say, to the other girls or talking to the expert or talking amongst the other couples, she'll say something that's bothering her or something that hasn't been resolved, or just saying something like, yeah, we're still dealing with this, or yeah, this is really bothering me. And normally if Shaquille was there, it's his first time hearing it. And that's happened several times. So when she said communication is still a problem, he was like, well, I thought that our communication had gotten better. Like, I thought we were in a better place. So they weren't really seeing eye to eye on that. And what she basically told the girls was, I feel like communication shouldn't be this hard. And I just feel like sometimes it's a lot of struggle just to talk and to be understood. And I feel like it shouldn't be that way. Let me say this. Being married myself now for 9.5 years, it's still difficult for me sometimes to really express myself to my husband. And I feel like sometimes it's probably difficult for him too, because he obviously never wants to hurt my feelings. So he has to really figure out a way to word things in a way that I'll understand what he's saying without immediately taking offense. And then it's kind of the same thing for me. I'm a writer first, so it's a lot easier for me to write down my feelings and then just give him the piece of paper. My husband is not a writer. He's not going to write back. That doesn't really do anything for him. He needs to have those conversations like face to face. And it is difficult for me sometimes, gotten a lot better over the years, obviously. But I say all that to say that if it's still difficult for me 9.5 years in, it's okay and perfectly normal for it to still be difficult for Kirsten and Shaquille, and it's less than 2 months in. And I know a lot of people sign up for the show and they're so surprised by how hard marriage is. And there's really no way to describe what makes it hard, because I feel like that's different for different couples. But marriage is hard, and it's not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be fulfilling, and you're supposed to feel loved and supported and all those wonderful, great feelings, and all that stuff is supposed to trump the hard times. But that doesn't mean the hard times aren't there. You're still going to have them. And so I'm hoping that she doesn't use that as an excuse to just be like, oh, well, this isn't working. It's too hard. I want to get out of this. It's like, girl, it's not supposed to be a walk in the park necessarily, but I hope that they can both see how the other person is trying and how the other person is growing in that area. Like, I'm really hoping that they're both seeing that from each other, but only time will tell. So now we will move to, I'm going to, all the other ones had actually really great things that took place or that were interesting. We're going to go to Gina and Clint. Okay, so last week they met with Devon Franklin as well. Actually, no, they met with Dr. Pepper. And Dr. Pepper basically told them, I think you guys need to up your game a little bit. I don't know how. They basically talked about what they need from their partner to know that they are cared for, or to just increase the care they have for each other, the affection they have for each other. She says she needs validation and words of affirmation, which she does give her. And he wants to see her making an effort to make him happy. He's like, it doesn't matter what it is. He's like, but if you just surprise me. And I'm like, oh, look, she ordered my favorite food today. And just, it lets me know that she was thinking about me. So obviously that means his love language is acts of service, while hers is words of affirmation, which is good because they've never had the conversation before. But they haven't had the conversation before because I think neither of them are really looking at this person as their wife or husband. Yes, we have that title because we signed that paper. I know legally you are my spouse, but they are in no way acting like a married couple. They're acting like two people who are getting along, who have a really good rapport with each other. But as far as I can tell, the big issue that they've had all this time is the attraction piece. I haven't seen how the attraction piece has changed. I haven't heard either of them say, you know what, the more I get to know him, he's actually kind of sexy, or him saying, you know what, her body is just, it is amazing. I'm like, really, like, neither of them have had these revelations either to themselves, to the other couples, to the other girls or guys, whatever. Like, they have not had that. So I'm assuming, since we haven't seen that hasn't changed. And yes, that is a big hurdle for some. I think that is something you can get over. But I also think that for the two of them, they have kind of written off that part of their marriage and just assume it's never going to change, so they never revisit it. I think they're just trying not to rock the boat with each other. They genuinely like each other as people. I don't think they're going to go beyond friendship. I don't see them making any effort to go in that direction. I just genuinely don't. And that's just my opinion. Dr. Pepper, like, wants them to open up emotionally. She had them hold hands, which is like, okay, that's great. And nothing really happened with them. When they met with Dr. Pepper, like, she basically talked to them. She suggested they watch a couple movies on intimacy. I guess Dr. Pepper is like, at this stage, for most couples, we're talking to them about sex. But you guys are so far beyond that because you guys aren't even kissing. You're not even really hugging. So let's just focus on building the affection that you have for one another. We can tell you guys at least like each other as people. We can tell that you respect each other. So now let's build on that. Let's build on that foundation of friendship and turn that into deep affection, which can eventually turn into love. I think that is possible. It is not possible in less than 2 weeks. it's just not. Because again, I think that they have permanently placed, like if I'm Gina, and let's say the left part of my brain is romance, the right part is friendship, the back is work, the front is social or whatever, however, her brain is separated. I think as soon as she saw Clint and wasn't attracted to him, yes, you're my husband, I get that. But as soon as they had that blow up in Jamaica, he was put over here. Actually, he's probably put in work because that was still technically her coworker who was on the show together. Slowly, he's come to this side of being friends, or whatever side I said friend is. And that's kind of where he stayed. I don't think she's making any moves to move in that direction. I will say between the two of them, I think Clint is more inclined to go to kind of up the ante a little bit. But he obviously doesn't want to do anything that makes Gina uncomfortable either, which I can appreciate. But I feel like he's more open to the possibility of us moving past this level of friendship and really getting more intimate and touching more, kissing more. He wants that, I believe. And he's at least more open to it than she is. And that's disappointing because as a couple, they look like, and just from like the conversations they have and the interests they have, they could really be a great couple together. And they're just stopping each other, stopping the process. It's weird. And it's sad every week because it's like, oh, that's so great. They're getting along. This is really cute. But it's like, we know this isn't going anywhere. We all know this isn't going anywhere. And it's so sad because they really could be a good couple. On paper, they are a really, really good match. So I'll give the experts that. On paper, Gina and Clint make a lot of sense, and they should be a really good power couple who are able to have fun with each other, who are able to balance each other out. But I just don't see it happening. And at the retreat, this was a really interesting thing. They're still sleeping in separate beds at home, but on the retreat, there are no separate beds. They had to share a bed again. And Gina was like, it's not uncomfortable with me, it's fine. And Clint was so excited about the concept. He seemed so excited, so giddy. I just feel like it's their first time and this is so great. And she's like, this is fine. I'm not uncomfortable with it. And it didn't match his level of excitement. Like it just sucks. Like they're definitely not on the same wavelength emotionally when it comes to this relationship. And it's very, very plain to see. So at the retreat, which I thought was cute, they had a pageant for the husbands. So all the husbands came all dressed up and they had questions they had to answer. And then all the wives voted and gave them like a point system and, decided who won, who lost, or whatever. So I did think it was cute that when Clint is getting ready, Gina was doing his hair. She convinced him to have a little man bun. And Clint, when he came out, y'all, for this pageant, this man had on a jacket. I think he had on the shirt as well, but the shirt was wide open, so you saw nothing but the chesticles. And just like it was a hairy chest. And mind you, I don't like hairy men, so that didn't really do it for me. But I was like, oh, Clint has a really nice body. Okay. And Clint is just fun. Compared to how this dude was on the honeymoon, we were all like, man, Clint sucks. We don't like him, blah, blah, blah. Clint is a really good dude. And every episode, I like him more and more. I really like Clint. I love his energy. I like the things that he's saying. I really, really like Clint. So it made me so happy to just see him in his element because he's just so fun and he's chilled and he's all about seizing the moment. And it's a beautiful thing to see. Like, I really enjoyed it. And the main thing that they were like, we're focusing day by day. They went on a roller coaster and they tried moonshine. So like they had fun or whatever. And Gina said that they're doing their part to get past the friendship. How? That was my only comment. How? I don't see what they're doing other than having conversations about how we need to move past friendship. I don't see what they're actually doing to move past friendship. I don't really see it at all. So again, don't really see it for either of them. I want to badly. It's nothing there. I'll feel like I always do Jasmine and Eris last. We're going to do Jasmine and Eris now, and then we'll do Nicole and Chris last. So Dr. Pepper visited with Jasmine and Eris, and so did Devon. Okay, so did Devon. Actually, Devon started with them, which I appreciated because they're definitely ones who, I won't say need the most help, but they need help. And I love the fact that Devon met with them both separately first before talking to them together. I really appreciated that because they don't normally do that. And I was like, this is good. You need that. So she is having the realization that she avoids confrontation and sweeps things under the rug. And that's in all of her relationships, romantic, friendship, or whatever. And that's one thing I will say about marriage, and I guess about the show in general. when you are married, it forces you to not only have to learn this new person and learn about what they like and don't like, it also makes you look inward and think about things of yourself like, oh, I never realized that I was so selfish, or I never realized that I was so like anal and I'm not spontaneous, or I'm not able to do this. Like, you don't realize these things until you're in a situation with someone that you're growing with, and you're like, wow, okay. And so I'm glad that she had that realization, which is good. But once you have the realization, now you got to do something about it, right? So she realized that, and she said she's not expressing herself to Eris the way she does with the other girls on the show. And she believes, and this is another comment I had, she said that she and Eris are compatible and have a lot in common. Like what exactly? And I'm not saying that because I don't believe her, but we focus so much on the fact that Eris is not attracted to her. And then focus so much on the fact that Jasmine kind of shut herself off from him because he isn't really making the effort like she wants him to, that I haven't heard a lot about what they have in common and what makes them compatible. Not really. And maybe that happened in earlier episodes. But again, I think we focus on the really big things every episode that we don't, those smaller things that should have already been made apparent by this stage, I don't remember what they are. So if you remember, definitely comment down below. I don't remember how they're compatible. So please someone remind me, because I was like, okay, sure. If you say so, you like it, I love it, I guess. Devon told her she needs to communicate desires to Eris and tell him exactly what she needs and to not be afraid of the answer. And I thought that was really key. A lot of times we do, I'm going to say we, I'll talk for myself. I'm not going to talk for y'all. A lot of times me, myself, and I may be afraid to ask for certain things or to say certain things because I am afraid of the answer. And the way my mind works, I definitely think about, okay, if I say this, he might say this, and then I'm going to feel this way, and then I'll have an attitude, and then like my mind will go down a little rabbit hole. And by the time I'm finished, I've talked myself out of speaking up and saying something because I've already predicted where it's going to lead. And again, I'm not a mind reader, so I can't predict what my husband's going to say. And most of the time, I'm wrong. And I'm like, really? I'm shocked. But I'm also operating under the knowledge of who he used to be. Because the old version of us, maybe if I asked that question that way, I would have been correct in the way I assumed things were going to go. But I'm a different person, and so is he. So sometimes I have to remember, okay, you're not asking the 20-year-old version of your husband or even the 30-year-old version of your husband. He is growing in ways that I may not always recognize or always understand or always even appreciate. So I have to think about some of those things when I talk. But Devon is right. Like, you're not supposed to, thinking about their reaction or even thinking about their possible rejection should not stop you from opening your mouth and saying what the heck it is that you want. And again, none of us want to feel, we don't want anybody to tell us no. We don't want someone to say that we're crazy. We don't want someone to hear us pleading or crying and then they do nothing about it. Obviously, that stuff doesn't feel good, but at least you said something. Because if you don't say anything, you're going to create scenarios in your head and basically get even more and more upset with that person. Your blood is going to rise and you're just going to get so pissed off that at some point you're going to blow up by something really, really small. But it's because you have all this pent up frustration from a conversation that you should have had 2, 3, 4, 5 months ago. So I did think that was really good advice. And she said that she was going to focus or make the attempt to speak up a little bit more. And another thing that I thought was interesting, they mentioned the exercise that Dr. Pepper gave them a while ago where they had a bowl full of questions and Eris was trying to get her to talk and he's answering the questions, being very vulnerable, very honest. But she was like, I don't know. I don't know. Well, yeah, that hasn't really happened to me. And he was getting frustrated with her because he was thinking that she was being standoffish. But she's telling Devon Franklin, like, one of the questions was about trauma and he's talking about his friend that took his own life and how traumatic that was for him. And I don't have anything that traumatic that happened to me. Like, my stuff is just small. Like, all I did was I got bullied. And I used to have that feeling in my head that I used to think that same way, where I would have issues that I'm going through, something that made me sad, upset, or whatever, but I wouldn't talk about it with other people. I was like, oh, but that person is going through this. Oh, that person's going through that. And that's much worse than what I'm going through. And you get into this mindset of comparing your trauma. And then once you feel like your trauma is not as bad, you don't say anything about it because then you don't want to tell the person who's really going through something. And you're like, oh, dang, I just add something else to their plate. And they're going through so much. I should have just kept my mouth shut. And it's like, no. what they're going through, yes, it's very traumatic. It's hard to experience and all that stuff. But that doesn't mean the stuff you're going through isn't just as traumatic. For you, it maybe I don't have somebody who took their own life. Maybe I don't have a parent that has passed away. But that doesn't mean the stuff that has happened to me is not traumatic. That just means that currently in this stage of my life, that may be the most traumatic thing that's happened. If you're a teenager, maybe that's getting a failing grade on something. That may not seem traumatic to other people, but for you, again, in your stage in your life, that is the most traumatic thing that has happened. And that's not a bad thing. That's not something you should compare to other people. You just still feel comfortable telling people about what you're going through, whether you think it's small scale or not. So I thought that was an interesting thing because, again, it's something I resonated with a lot. And then Devon asked Eris what he finds appealing about Jasmine. And I was so glad because I feel like he has not been asked that question directly. And I needed him to be asked that question. He said he loves her passion and her calming presence. And he's still fighting to be more attracted to her. And then Devon started asking questions about his job and how much effort he puts towards his job. And, you know, he's doing it for a reason. Devon said, if you're putting, well, he asked Eris if he's putting the same effort into his job that he is in his marriage. I was like, oh, that's when the preacher came out of him. I was like, oh, you better deliver that message in a way that he understood. And he said this to him also to Eris. He's like, you want all these things. Basically, you want all these things from a partner, from a wife, whatever. He's like, you claim you want all these things, but you're already married to somebody who can give you all of those things. So why aren't you focusing on all these things that you say that you want, as opposed to focusing on the things that you don't necessarily have? Like, you need to kind of figure out what's most important to you. And really nothing more really happened, except they talked about how they do not, they don't hug or kiss at all anymore. And I'm like, at some point you guys were at least pecking, and I guess Eris was doing it out of obligation. But if you're trying to build this thing with Jasmine, you need to, like, do that. And he said, like, oh, well, you know, she kind of created distance. Of course she did, because you kept telling her that she wasn't cute. What else is she supposed to do? Like, throw herself at you and be rejected at every turn? No. So, of course, she's going to back away a little bit. But that's up to you to initiate. Initiate a hug, a peck on the cheek, the lips, the head, or whatever. You're not repulsed by this woman. She's just not your type, which is fine. But at least do something. Like, I feel like that's a small thing. And I think either Dr. Pepper did say that, like, at the very, like, bare minimum, when you guys enter a room, when you come home from work, when you leave for work, just at least give each other a hug. Something really small like that can still, like, build intimacy. But again, this is in the 9th or 11th hour or whatever. Like, it's too late to do this stuff now. Well, in theory, it's too late to do this stuff now. This stuff should have been done. The fact that this stuff stopped in the first place didn't make any sense. And on one hand, I'm happy that Eris is understanding his role and everything. But on the other hand, it's like, you just now getting it? After all this time, you're just understanding. That's the part I don't quite get. Like, you should have been realized that, oh, we aren't kissing anymore. I need to be the one to kiss my wife. I should do that for her. But again, what the heck do I know? So they did have an issue last week when they were with all of the couples. In addition to having dinner, they also did, like, this line dance class. And Jasmine stormed out because at one point Eris was dancing with the instructor. Now, the way it looked, the instructor went up to Eris and basically started dancing, and he was dancing as well with her. Jasmine got pissed because, you know, I've been asking you to dance. You've been telling me no, but you're going to dance with the instructor kind of thing. He came out and he said, I understand what it looks like. He said, but I want you to understand that my intention was not to dance with her like, oh, I think she's cute, whatever. He's like, that had nothing to do with it. He's like, she came to me and asked me to dance, and I didn't assume that she was trying to get me to dance. I assumed she was trying to help me with the moves, because it's clear that I'm the worst dancer out of everybody. I don't have rhythm, so I thought she was coming to me to help me with the moves. That is what I thought. So, granted, I understood why she was pissed completely, and I'm glad that Eris understood right away. He didn't try to make excuses for it. He didn't try to make excuses in terms of, like, not trying to gaslight her and make it seem like she was crazy. So I love the fact that he understood right away what was going on, that he went after his wife, and she was kind of not in the best space, so they left early together, which I appreciated. Like, okay, cool. You understand where your wife's coming from, and then you leave him with her. And he ended up sleeping on the couch that night. I wasn't mad at that at all. And I got it. But it was good because she actually said something in the moment, where before she may have just held on to it and not really said anything, may have brushed it off and been like, oh, it's okay, it's all right. But the fact that she actually spoke up in that moment and said something to him, I know was big for her. And I know that's something he appreciated. Even though, again, he was in the wrong, he was like, okay, but I got her. I understand. This makes sense. So, like I said, Dr. Pepper encouraged them to hug each other before they leave and when they come back. And they ended the interview holding hands. But it's like, again, I still don't think that's going to be enough. So at the retreat yesterday, she brought a little icebreaker starter pack for the cards, some little cards to read, which I thought was really cute. And I like that they got there first. And so all the couples that came in after them, Eris greeted them with shots. And I will say that Eris, and I say this every week, Eris has me cracking up every episode. He is really like flawlessly funny in the things that he says and the way he says them. So I like Eris as a person. Whether or not they survive this marriage, who knows? But I really like Eris as a person. Like, I really do. So when they had their little competition with the men, the pageant, Jasmine told him to be confident. She like look the judges in the eye. I love that all the wives were giving tips to their husband, like, okay, make sure you do this. Give him a little, a little swivel, or maybe do this, shake your hair a little bit and do this. And because they were like, you're my husband and we only have winners in our household. You got to make sure you bring it and blah, blah, blah. So it was those moments were really cute between the spouses. I was like, this is kind of cute. Actually, I really like this. And I'll talk about the pageant. No, I'll talk about the pageant now. So Eris won. And he was so goofy. He had a little crown, a little sash. So Jasmine is showing him how to pose in it. And he's like, man, I'm addicted. I need some more crowns. Now I'm ready. I'm ready for the next competition. Any other husbands want to step up? Like, what's up? Let's do this. And I'm like, this dude is like a fool. And then they had a moment the next morning, where I guess Eris meditates every morning, kind of get himself right. And Jasmine mentioned wanting to do it with him. He meditated without her. She got mad. But again, instead of holding it in, she immediately said something like, it would have been nice if you had meditated with your wife, because I got up and I thought we were going to do it together and we didn't. And I was upset about that. So he corrected immediately and they went outside and he led her in a really peaceful, beautiful meditation outside, smelling the mountain air. It was really peaceful and really zen. And I was like, okay, good for you, Eris. I appreciate what you're doing. She can see that you're trying and he can see that she's speaking up more. I was like, okay, it made me happy to see that. They're having a lot more sweet moments, which I appreciate. They went to this place and went rock climbing and went on a trampoline and dodgeball. And she can tell that he's trying, and he asked her to speak up in the moment, which I do think is a valid concern. So I'm glad that he said again, like, I really need you to do this. And he left early for a work event before they had like an 80s party of the couple. So he left early for a work event. But even in that moment, and someone commented this about him winning the crown of Mr. Couples Retreat. They commented, even when he won the crown, not even, but when he won the crown, that'd been the perfect moment to kiss your wife. To hug her, to kiss her like, yeah, we got kings and queens in the family and blah, 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 blah. That would have been a perfect moment to show your wife some affection. I don't even know if they hugged then. And then when he left for the work trip, she walked him out to the car and hugged him. So it was a nice hug, still no kiss. And that would have been the perfect moment for him to give her something. A kiss anywhere on her face would have sufficed. But he didn't even do that. And I don't know if it's because they just got so used to not doing that. But it's like, bruh, come on. Like, this is what she needs, obviously. And you ain't giving her what she needs, my boy. Like, I don't get it. It was very frustrating. So now I'm going to do Nicole and Chris. Nicole needs deep, deep therapy. She needs help. And again, from being married, she's able to understand how broken she actually is. She knew the stuff that she went through with these past guys. And I kind of put that in common. Like, what kind of men has she been with? Like, it's like one tragic story after another. So she understood what she went through with these past relationships. Like, we obviously, she has a good memory. She remembers these things. But she never saw fit to figure out how these experiences impact her as a woman, impact her as now a wife. And all of that stuff from the past is like right in the forefront of her mind. And it's making her question everything. And it's so sad. And it's like, girl, like, it's not healthy at all. Like, she clearly loves Chris because they exchanged I love yous. They love each other. It's great. But Chris has to constantly check in with her to see I don't say he has to. I think it's just his personality. But he's constantly checking in with her like, hey, is there anything you need from me? Is there something I'm not doing for you that you think you want me to do? And she's like, well, there are some times when I need my space, right? So when I ask for my space, I need you to be able to not give me my space. And he's like, but that's confusing because if you're asking for it, why would I put myself in your space if you don't want that? So because sometimes I need it, and sometimes it's like I'm trying to put a wall up, and I need you to be able to tell which time it is because I don't want to put my wall up. So you have to make sure you're taking my wall down. No, actually, that's not his job. You have to work on not putting that wall up. Don't put that on that man. Again, like we've been saying the whole episode, he is not a mind reader, and nobody is. And that was a really weird thing for her to say, like, well, sometimes I want my space, sometimes I don't want my space, and I'm still going to say I want space. Just don't give me my space. No, girl, we are not 14, 15 years old. You were in your 30s. Like, you can be, no, be woman enough to be like, hey, I feel like my wall's going up, and I don't want that to happen, so let's talk this out. Or take your space because you want to figure stuff out, and then you can talk to them about it later. That's fine too. But don't put that on that man to basically intrude on your space. Because what if it's one of those magical times when you actually need space and now he's all up in your face? Now you're going to be mad at him, and that's going to turn to a whole nother issue. And it's like, girl, no. I just know. And she said that she needs more validation. She wants to get to the point where she's not questioning things anymore. I don't know how. And he told her, like, I'll be here for you through the long haul. But I do feel that Chris will be that person. I think he'll be there to support Nicole and whatever's possible. But I think at some point that gets very exhausting. If you constantly have to prove yourself to your spouse, constantly have to prove that you love them, constantly have to prove that you're there for them, constantly have to prove that you are not going to hurt them intentionally. That's a lot to put on a person to do all the freaking time. And also, but doing that all the time means that you don't really have room yourself to be vulnerable or to ask for help yourself because you're so busy making sure your spouse is good that your needs may go unmet. There's a lot of, I don't say red flags, but this could go some bad ways potentially. And plus she's working through some trauma. He's going to have to be very strong and consistent to deal with that, and also very patient. And then there was a cute scene where she went lingerie shopping with Kirsten because she's trying to spice things up a little bit. And Kirsten is trying to teach her how to walk in lingerie. Like, yes, girl, you just have the robe and then you just, take it off slowly. And then, take this off slowly. And then we do this. And it was a really cute thing that they did. I thought it was very cute. And, oh my gosh, they met with Pastor Cal. And she is every time they meet with experts, she's dwelling on something that she should not be dwelling on. Now she's dwelling on the fact that, well, Chris didn't actually choose me. So, it's like, yes, he loves me or he likes me, and I think that's great, but he didn't really make the choice to be with me. It's like we were forced to be together. So does he really want to be here, or does he just like me because that's, we're just here and you might as well because we're married? And I'm like, girl, no. And Pastor Kyle put it very well. He's like, he did choose you. He chose you before he knew who you were. He chose all of the qualities he was looking for in a wife, and you were the one that met all those qualities. So he did choose you, Nicole. And that's like, why you focus on that? Like, girl, she's trying to focus on any little thing to basically make the seem like, oh, this can't be real. It has to be a fairy tale. There has to be something wrong with him, wrong with the process. I know there's a bunch of stuff wrong with me. I don't deserve him. Like, it's just a bunch of stuff in her head. And again, you need therapy, boo. Like, I need you to get together. Please get it together, because you are going to run this man ragged and you're going to drive him away. And that would not be fair to Chris or to yourself, because you're actually happy. Allow yourself to be happy, Nicole. Like, please let yourself be happy. It's a mess. And then yesterday, they're driving to the retreat. They got there last. And for some reason, she had a major attitude in the car, attitude when she got there. I don't know why. I still don't know why. One of the things that's still kind of lingering that I do think is valid for her to be concerned about. If you guys remember, as episodes past, they talked about what they were going to do after decision day when it came to their living situation, because both of them have apartments and their lease is going to be up soon. His suggestion is, well, instead of diving right into finding an apartment or finding a house or whatever, let's just stay in our respective homes. That way we're not rushing the process. We can just take our time, stay where we are right now. And then, at some point we'll look for places and we can move in and have, a house big enough for the dogs to run around and it'll be great. But, we can give ourselves time. On one hand, you may say, oh, that sounds kind of logical. On the other hand, you may say, okay, but I went from living with you for 2 months as my husband to now basically we're going to be living apart again. I didn't get married to live apart from somebody. Like, no. And why don't we discuss it now? If we're both leaning towards yes on decision day anyway, why don't we just start thinking about stuff now? Or at least if we're going to do that, let's have a time limit for that, right? Because I'm all about, let me know the deadline. If we're going to go back to our separate apartments, but the deal is, hey, we're only going to be there for no more than 3 to 5 months. In 3 to 5 months time, we're going to figure out what our options are. We're going to look at our joint finances, figure out what we can afford, and then we're going to put money either on a house that we're going to rent or a house that we're going to buy or an apartment that accepts $3. Either way, we're going to figure this out. But trust me, it's not going to take longer than this amount of time. And in that time frame of 3 to 5 months, I'm still going to make sure we're dating. We are calling each other all the time. We're going to have plenty of sleepovers because we're going to make sure that the momentum that we have created over these 8 weeks does not go away. That needs to be the plan, but that needs to be discussed. So I understand from Nicole's perspective, it seems like that hasn't been discussed at all. Chris is very like, oh, well, we have time. And, we can't do anything about it now. It's the weekend. Let's talk about it on Monday. And he's all chilled with it. And she's like, we have 9 days before decision day, like 9. And even though I'm confident that we're both going to say yes, that means in 9 days' time, we have to move out of this apartment, though. So we still need to have some kind of plan in place. I'm all about her. I love a woman with a plan. Love a man with a plan, too. But I'm a woman who constantly has a plan. So I'm all about Nicole's mindset. So I just ended up being annoyed with that. She's not showing it that much. So I don't know how much it really annoys her. But I feel like deep down, she's very concerned about it. Because she's made it clear, I'm not trying to be separate from you. We didn't get married for that. That makes no sense. And he also did like a little scavenger hunt on the at the retreat, little scavenger hunt of love letters that he just kind of taped on their little balcony. And it was cute and it was sweet. But yeah, that's pretty much all that happened. Like I said, they had the pageant. They had a little 80s party. I loved Clint's outfit. He had on mesh and he had on eyeliner or guy liner, some people like to say when it's on a man. And it was a cute little time. I thought it was really cute. And Eris, again, is hilarious. I like Eris as a person. Like, I really do. And so the winner of the pageant, so Clint got third runner-up, which basically means he got last place. He was called Mr. Courageous and Outrageous. Shaq got second runner-up, which is third place, Mr. Style and Swag. And then Mr. Showstopper was Chris. And then Mr. Couples Retreat King was Eris. And they also had bears in the episode. Some bears were on the porch eating from their coolers. Clint and the men cooked for the women. And, they talked about sex and intimacy. And, I pretty much told you where everybody is. Gina says she likes Clint as a person. Jasmine said things are improving. And so I did say this. When they're eating dinner, Clint was like, so guys, we're having a really good time, but decision day is right around the corner. Where is everyone at right now? And what do you think you need from your partner in order to say yes on decision day? And I could tell that this man was reading from a script that producers gave him that line because they're like, hey, you guys are all at dinner and decision day is like a week away. So this is a perfect time to like talk about your insecurities and talk about where you guys are and what needs to be done. Like, of course, this is the time to do it. So Clint, here, make sure you memorize this and say this at dinner. It was very well read, but I could clearly tell like, oh, they made him ask this question. And one thing Eric said that surprised a lot of people, he said that we basically have the resources that we need to make it work. And he saluted Jasmine in front of everyone. Like, I know that there are plenty of times where you could have cursed me out. You could have walked away. Because like, you're well within your right to do all of that stuff. Like, you really were. But I appreciate that you have stuck it out with me. I see that you're trying. I see that you're giving me grace. And I'm just so appreciative of you constantly being there. And I was like, oh. And of course, Jasmine cried a couple tears. Because you don't expect that. And it was a really sweet gesture on his part to recognize all the stuff that she's doing. And she said that. She was like, I felt for the first time that he sees me. That he was really seeing what I've been doing and seeing how I'm trying my best to show up for him. Like, he sees me. I feel seen. And so it was really sweet. That was pretty much all that happened. Like, nothing got resolved. Nobody had any earth-shattering moments or whatever. It was very much like, okay, whatever. So again, that was episode 16. So we have at least one more episode next week where it's their last day at the retreat. And then I guess they're going to probably meet with they normally have all the individuals meet with their family and friends to get last minute advice about marriage, last minute advice about their spouse in particular. And then hopefully, fingers crossed, the episode after next week will be decision day. If not, it'll be some other episode that'll be like a filler where maybe they do a recap of what's happened over the year or something. I don't know. No, they like to fill it up for whatever reason. But yeah, that was the recap for episodes 15 and 16 of Married at First Sight. Sorry this episode ran a little long, but again, we had 2 episodes to get through. I will say that I have confidence in Shaquille and Kirsten. Actually, since I'm decision day, I'll give my updates on who should say yes or no, who I think will say yes or no. I think Nicole and Chris will both say yes. I think they'll make it past the 6 months. I think Kirsten and Shaquille will say yes. I don't know if they'll make it to the 6-month mark or not. I'm kind of hesitant to say that just yet. I think for Jasmine and Eris may say yes and Jasmine might say no. I think it will be that. I feel like Eris would, I do strongly feel like Eris would say yes though. But I think Jasmine would say no. For Gina and Clint, I think it always depends on who was asked the question first. But I think Gina would say no and I think Clint would say yes. This is because I think Clint wants it, not even wants it more. I think Clint is willing to put in that work that Gina hasn't been putting in as of yet. So that is my prediction. What do you guys think about what you saw the past couple of weeks? What do you guys think about the couples overall? Do you think any of them are actually going to go past the 6 months or not? Make sure you like this video, share the video if you can, subscribe to my channel, click the notification bell, comment below. I love talking to you guys about the show, and thank you guys so much for those who sent me messages wondering if I was okay because I was away. I thoroughly appreciate that. Like, as you can see, I'm doing quite well. I'm happy and everything is great. But I am back, and I promise you guys that I will do my recaps next week for episode 17, whatever that looks like. But in the meantime, again, comment below on what you think about all the couples. What do you think about the show overall? What do you think the new format should be for the seasons coming after this one? When it comes to the experts, what should that format look like? Should we keep Dr. Pia and Devon Franklin? Should we get rid of them? Should they be there from the very beginning? Should we keep it like it is now, but they just come at the end? Like, what do you guys think the solution is for that? Either way, I hope you guys have an amazing, wonderful day, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.